Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is a little video on an exercise. I can't say that I came up with it, but I was thinking about a couple of issues that some of my new start students had. Incidentally, all my students aren't kids. I'm lucky to teach a wide variety of people from all walks of life, all different ages, all different abilities on their instruments. And it's really interesting. One of the most interesting part that I find of trumpet teaching is how to put the information across. And sometimes what you say to one person just doesn't work for another person. Anyway, I digress. So this little video is specifically about helping, I would say definitely more beginner students, work out how the heck to change pitch. Okay, now it's not just about playing high. A lot of people want to play high. Some people naturally play high and can't play low. So I'm approaching this from the standpoint of, let me think, two of my students. These are younger students, but there is an older student as well who does now have the relationship of support for changing through notes. Now, before I get into that, one of the I suppose most misunderstood ways that I think brass players think about playing high is by squeezing our embouchure together and using lots of air. Okay, so I'm going to put that out there right now because what I'm about to do may actually sound like it's aligning that. I am using an idea that is in almost every study book about how we change notes. But what I wanted to do was condense this down. So I'm going to get a little video going in just a wee second that's going to demonstrate what it is that I'm talking about. And what it is that I'm talking about is starting off with a low note. Okay, so usually as trumpet players, we have either a C at the bottom of the staff or a G in the middle of the staff as a beginner that we start off. Maybe this video is more aimed at tutors than at students, so use it as you see fit. So for example, one of my new start kid trumpet players plays a clarinet already. She has a concept of sound and tonality and everything, but in terms of how we actually make that sound on the trumpet, we're still at the learning phases of it. And she could play some notes, and there's an inconsistency around those notes, especially when we're moving around. So what we're trying to learn is moving between notes in a controlled fashion and how to actually make those notes consistently appear. So between weeks, she came back and she nailed out this middle G that was absolutely amazing, but she couldn't do it all the time. She could get a bottom C occasionally, but sometimes that bottom C would fall off the bottom, detune all the way down into the pedal register or bent lower register, whatever it is. So what we did was establish our lower C and then crescendo on it. Okay, so this from a very, very soft pitch, as you'll see in this video, crescendoing up is teaching the student to control the aperture and the airstream in such a way that the pitch doesn't vary, our volume varies, but we're blown hard through this embouchure. Okay, so have a check out of this. And what you'll hear is obviously a crescendo note. Now, what happens next is we're going to try and learn to move up to the next note. Anything can happen here. We can crescendo on the note, put the correct valves down, and the note stays the same. Great for note bending, not great for changing pitches. So what we're doing with the crescendo is, and what I'm trying to instruct when I'm teaching this to my students who this is working with, is that when we start to properly turn on the jets and blow the air through, we put the valves down, and usually what happens is we should move up. It's not the most scientific, and it's not the prettiest way of changing notes, But what it does show is the level of support that we learn from our diaphragm area. I don't want to overcomplicate this too much. But in terms of just that aspect of blowing, usually comes from down here. A lot of time it comes from up here, etc. I'm not trying to teach hard blowing or anything like that whatsoever. What I am trying to instill in my younger students, my basic students, is the degree of support. And then we get this, hopefully. So when we change notes through the increased airstream, the note becomes the next note up. In this case, a D may jump up to a G. Who knows? Because that's 1 and 3 as well, isn't it? But what I'm trying to instill is this level of support as we're moving up these small increments. So then we do it again, but we start off where we finished. One of the key aspects of this little technique is starting off very soft as the student can learn. As soft as the student can manage by attaining that note. And as we start to blow through that note at that pitch, the embouchure learns a way to control that pitch at that volume. I always say to all of my students, one of the hardest things that you can do, and one of the most difficult things to manage, to play loud. I never play as loud as half of my students do when they're tanking out some of those notes. It just sounds so much hard work. But we learn, you know. We learn as we go along. And as we go through these basic steps, we travel from a bottom C up to a G. Okay? Again, this is not about blowing hard or using air to play high in terms of volume, as in 1 to 11 on a Marshall amp. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about learning to support and learn to grip this energy with our embouchure, so that when the sound is created here, it's at the correct pitch for the instrument. This ties up with the idea that our lips are connected to our ears via the trumpet, and that helps steer our pitch. Now, the next part is the opposite in terms of like coming down from a higher note. I don't have many students that have trouble going down in terms of descending their pitch. I do have a couple in terms of being able to play into the lower register, so below our bottom C. And what this exercise does, it's the exact same. We don't have to go through as many steps. So let's say, just start at the G again. So this is our G. You hear the G starts off strong. Okay, so we can already play this strong note. So maybe the student's embouchure is too tight, or they're using too much support down here in terms of what we're talking about. Just tanking that note out, you know, where it's like kids get a trumpet and they go, wow. So what I'm trying to do here is get the student to start off with a strong note by gradually turning down the airstream, just making it softer and softer and softer, and trying to make sure that the student retains the pitch. They're learning to do the opposite in terms of maintain the pitch, maintain the note quality, or the note of the airstream rather, with the embouchure in such a way that the note stays where it should. Now, by doing this, and the next component of this is then when we are starting to decrescendo down, quite often what can happen is, like note bending again, the note falls away. We want to try and catch the movement down to the next note before it falls away, or before the note actually starts to detune. Use the trumpet to help mechanically drive that down. I've got one student just now, if you're doing this on a G, and it's even a soft G as well, still got to work this one out, put the first valve down, it goes up to a B flat. So there's tension here that we're trying to address. This does start to help with that. So blowing this long G, and then just as the note is starting to get soft, put the first valve down and just find out where that sits. And the embouchure is absolutely key, because then we can start there with the next one. And we move down, again starting the F. We don't do every note like we do in the first excerpt, where we're ascending, then re-establish the pitch, and then crescendo, and then move up. We're just starting off with the note, then decrescendoing, and using the trumpet to help pull us down as well. Remember, this is very, very, very early on in our students' approach to trumpet playing, and learning all these little aspects in terms of controlling the airstream through volume, and also for pitch, yes, to a certain degree, and learning that they can manipulate the pitch here and use the trumpet to help is absolutely key, because so many trumpet players that I know, even at a more probably intermediate advanced level, they still really, really tank the trumpet to get the high notes to come out. You know, we've all seen it. It's like you're getting the high notes to come out and they're going, whatever. And, you know, they might get some notes out. I've done this myself as well. Probably partly why my teeth are an absolute mess as it is. But trying to think about a way to approach the pitch and get the airspeed or the type of air at the correct energy level, I don't know, to make these notes happen, very, very important. So I hope this little exercise is interesting to you. I do something similar on my accessing all registers video. But what I'm trying to do there is I'm trying to maintain the quality of sound all the way down. I'm not doing it through a decrescendo, but I am trying to think about the correct airspeed for each pitch whilst not adjusting the volume or the correct type of air for each pitch. I'll try and put a link to that up here or up here. And that's that exercise. I'd love to hear what you think about it. There are various versions of this exercise. I think probably most notably Schlossberg, the beginning exercises, certainly as well in the early stages of the Arbin as well, where we have decrescendos and crescendos written, etc. That's it. Okay, I'm going to get a little PDF together for this. I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you got issues with what I'm talking about here, but again, trying to think about this from a tutor's point of view in terms of helping a student move around the very basics of range in a trumpet through exploring what we can do with our airstream and support and managing that airstream with our embouchure, and also from the point of view that maybe a student doesn't quite know how to support, or trying to get them to think about blowing from down here, which is not the correct terminology, but in terms of a concept of support, it does kind of tick that box. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you've made it to the very end of the video, thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. And please stay smart, stay safe, and don't forget to practice. Thanks. Bye-bye.